Welcome, everybody. It's Trader Roundup. We're doing it to it. We're live. We are on YouTube, on Twitter, and I'm here with Trader Coach Rodrigo and the man himself, Jade Cap FX. How you gents doing today?
I'm doing good, brother. Super
Good.
excited to get this launched.
I know it's gonna be fun, man. It's a good time. It's How about yourself, Rod? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm buzzing. It's an honor to be here. Can't wait to get started with this. There's lots to discuss, guys, and there's a lot of people tuning in. I'm excited, man.
So what we're talking about today, everybody, is a book by Nick Trenton. It's called Stop Overthinking. We as traders in our lives, we do a lot of overthinking. We second guess ourselves. We, within the charts, within life, dealing with your family, dealing with folks, they're like, what are you doing, bro? Like, what trading? And then, you have to deal with that environment. On top of that environment, you gotta make some financial decisions on a chart in an environment that's extremely manipulative, right? And I'll just tell you from my 2 cents, you want to be buying on down close candles and you want to be selling on up close candles and you want to be managing a tighter stop loss. But I digress. We're here not to talk about the charts. We are here to talk about a book, an amazing book that you really should check out. We think about some things for way too long. And when we do, that leads to stress and distress. And when we do that, we become our own enemy. And we can deal with anxiety and mental health and really finding ways to unplug from overthinking, anxious thoughts, negative mental health. Overthinking leads to questioning and doubt, and we overanalyze our own thoughts. And that then leads to a thought pattern. That thought pattern can be negative, and you will indeed be manifesting these negative things within your life due to these negative thought patterns. They can affect your decision making. How important is it for you as a trader to make decisions? Overthinking delays, impedes progress. We as traders are seeking to get 1% better every day, understanding the fact that we deal with drawdown. How do you get 1% better and still be in drawdown? Well, life is AMD. So we accumulate, manipulate, and then we distribute, not once but twice, and then we start it over again. And within that, we need to find and carve out daily habits. Daily habits, if they're in regards to overthinking, are going to lead to anxiety, fear, doubt. You will be your own worst enemy. In this book right here, what Jade, Rod, and I are here to talk about today specifically are ways in which you can tackle this very, very common issue that we all deal with as traders, that we all deal with in our life cycle, within the environments of the markets, but also within the environments of our homes, with our families, our loved ones. We're here to talk about it. We're here to talk about it today at Trader Roundup. We got Jade and we got Rod. And I wanna ask Jade, what are some of the main goals within what are some of the things that you took away from this book by Nick Trenton, Stop Overthinking? What were some things that you looked at? Did you find any techniques? What were some things that you noticed in reading this book? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so it's this is a really good topic because some of the viewers might not know, but I've been working on this production, trying to get this podcast launched or this book review launched. And honestly, at times I was overthinking it. Like Rodrigo knows, you know, in the backgrounds, I'm kind of overthinking it. And at times it's just like, I just need to act, right? And I'm aware of that. And I think a big part of it is just understanding, what is causing you to actually overthink? Is it uncertainty? Is it, various things in your life that are, I guess, causing you to feel some type of way, and then, you're put into a position where you can't make a clear decision because now you have so many variables that you're trying to predetermine and, I guess, find a solution to, right? So I guess we'll kick it off on the next slide, really. So the main goal in releasing bodily and mental tension is to identify what is going on in your head when you overthink. So for me, my triggers of overthinking is, right, I have a ton of design OCD. Like, I need things to be perfect. When in reality, at times it's best if I just put aside my thoughts behind what could go wrong, what might go right, and just shifting your attention to being present and releasing the urge to resist uncertainty. And, a lot of it comes down to your lifestyle and your daily habits, what you think about on a daily basis. Are you visualizing the right things? Are you thinking negatively? Are you stuck in a job that you, just can't stand anymore?
Yeah.
So there's a couple different things that we can do to avoid, a buildup of stress, because stress is, it accumulates over time, and it kind of puts you in a hole of overthinking. Rod, did you have something to add?
Yeah. On the topic of work, right? My first 4 years of trading, I was pretty much around break even. I've had really bad months, had really good weeks, had really bad years, but never really had a strong year. And
Hey, Rod, can you
because we
speak
was
up for us
working
a
so
little
many
bit?
different jobs. What
Can you
was that,
speak
Kit?
up, buddy? Just a little bit, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, so in my first 4 years, I was working different jobs, and I'll tell you what, that it's so difficult when you're learning to trade and you don't like where you work. You don't like the people, their energy, and it's really difficult because when you're on the charts, when you're trying to learn a model, when you're trying to master your psychology, you're trying to have good routines, when you go to work, that energy, that momentum that you built, it just gets sucked out of you, and it's really, really difficult. And so it's important that everything that you do outside of work is as consistent as possible. The people that you surround yourself with, and managing stress, learning to manage stress is so important, because as a trader, you are constantly under stress because the outcome is uncertain, and the mind experiences the stress. So yeah, back to what you were saying, Kyle, about the 4 A's of stress management. Um, yeah, I'm curious to hear, your thoughts on these.
Yeah, so again, I think the first step in identifying triggers of overthinking is awareness, right? Are you in a bad situation? First of all, what is causing you to feel some type of way about that specific situation that you're in? So there are a couple different things that we can do to manage our stress levels and get us back in a place where we stop overthinking and we start executing on the ideas and the goals and different things that are gonna put us in a position to succeed, right? Avoidance is one of those things. For me personally, whenever I encounter negative energy, low vibrational frequency from other people, a lot of times I just walk the other direction. That is something that I've learned over time. If you feed into negative vibrations, right, some of those vibrations get bounced back to you. Like the universe has a sign of telling you, you're in a negative spot. I'm going to feed you more negativity. And it's really a snowball effect on the way down. But if we can avoid these negative situations and start seeking positive environments, right, now you start attracting positivity in your life. So that brings us into altering. Right? If you can't avoid it, you need to learn how to alter your environment to remove the stressor. You can't avoid every stressful situation. That's the reality of life. Life is just uncertain. So you have to look for ways to change them by determining how they unfold. And if you can't alter your environment, well, you have to accept it. Acceptance comes from self-accountability. Is the environment that you're in some situation that you put yourself in? Right? And lastly, if you get to a point where you have done everything, you've avoided negative situations, you've tried to alter those negative situations into positivity, and you've accepted the situation that you're in, well, the last thing that you can do is adapt. Right? If you failed at the previous three, the only thing that's left to do is adapt to that situation. And that's where you change yourself to cope better with stress.
So I have a question for you, Kyle. How did you adapt when you were working your job and you were trading and you started funded trading? How did you adapt during that period?
Well, I think it came from a couple different people. I ran into you. I made friends with another gentleman in Canada who kind of put things into perspective for me. As a trader, you really think that markets are the key to success, when in reality, building good habits, good daily routines, surrounding yourself with the right people, these are all small things that you can change in your environment, right? Sometimes it might mean cutting people off, and you don't have to entirely cut off people that are close to you, but if you avoid that situation and you can adapt to a different sort of lifestyle, right? Maybe now, instead of hanging out with those negative people, you're spending your time studying, you're spending your time working out, you're spending your time reading, just understanding yourself, right? That was my way of adapting to an environment that I really didn't want to be in. I didn't want to go and work 60 hours a week. But I guess my way of adapting was spending the little bit of free time I had left in a day, instead of going out and partying with my friends, sitting down in front of my computer, reading a book, watching a podcast episode, listening to positive affirmations. It's so important, right? And that's kind of how I adapted to, I guess, I wouldn't say a terrible environment, right? Everybody has their own struggles, but that was, the reality of my situation. I wasn't happy with where I was. I was stressed out from work. I could barely stand getting up in the morning just to go to work. And at that point, my life just came to a boiling point, and you have, I guess, two forks in the road that you have to decide between. Are you going to go left or are you going to go right?
Yeah. And during that period, when you had to adapt. How did you adapt when you were in drawdown? So things at work were tough. They sucked, right? But then you're in drawdown as well, which also sucks. How do you adapt?
To me, you have to learn how to just disconnect from the markets. Because I know a lot of people, when they first get into markets, everything seems like you have to be active every single day, when in reality, you really don't. You want to be taking risk in a conservative manner, right? You want to wait for the best setups. And if you're in emotional drawdown, if you're in financial drawdown, trying to be in front of the markets every single day can be a hindrance, right? So I find a lot of value in just getting up from my desk and going outside, right? Grounding yourself, spending time with family is so important. So that's kind of how I was able to deal with drawdown. I kind of just stepped away from the markets and recentered myself, because if you're not centered when you're in front of the markets, well, you're going to tend to overthink and you're going to tend to make mistakes.
That is an excellent, excellent point, Kyle. I think drawdown's a really big deal, right? I think we overthink it a lot as traders. Instead of kind of framing our decisions more around, like, I'm taking this. You want to make a decision to take a trade and to make a legitimate decision to do something based on ponderance and logic. And I think too many times this form of overthinking is really, when you're out of balance, when you're really focused too much versus being a little bit more intuitive, just kind of being in a flow state, right? I think that's really important as traders, is to kind of tap into the moment. And I also think that's an important aspect within the life that we live, is finding peace with now. And sometimes that means drawdown. Sometimes that's cold water immersion. That's a plunge. Sometimes that's a workout. But finding biochemical responses that have a positive causal effect on your body, I think really help combat these stressors that just come from just that, mentally over engaging. So for me personally, I found exhaustion, physical exhaustion helps me combat mental overthinking, right? So just curious, Kyle, Rod, what are some things you guys do to combat this idea of overthinking?
So for me, what I found, and what I found both in my own trading and what I found both in coaching traders, is literally the art of journaling itself, right? The art of pouring everything that's going on in your mind onto a journal. And it can be as simple as a notebook, right? It could be as simple as a notebook and expressing yourself. Now, if you don't know what to write and it feels awkward, then write that down. I feel awkward writing in this journal. And if you can take it up a notch, right? There's different levels of journaling. Now, when you journal your trades and you start to journal not only the trade, the metrics that you're measuring, but also emotional metrics, psychological metrics, behavioral metrics, how you're responding and how you're feeling at that present moment. What that does, it diffuses the emotion itself, because you have to step outside of yourself, right? So this is altering the moment, and you are then being aware of those feelings, which then allows you to accept it. Accept that this is just you being human. Accept that this is just the reality of trading. Accept that you could lose this trade. No strategy is 100%. But as a trader, we need losses. That's what we do. We need losses in order to find those wins. So we need to accept that. Accept our flaws, accept our reactions, and adapt. Because in that moment between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space of when you recognize the overthinking, you recognize the stress, there is that moment where you have a choice. And that choice will determine whether you're going to follow your rules, follow your edge, or you're going to succumb to your emotion, to your impulsivity. That is how you should be thinking about trading. You should be journaling in it. You should be every single trade needs to have your emotional data in it. And the work that I do with traders is exactly that. I quantify the emotions. I use the emotions as signals and data. I collect that over a large sample of trades. Not only is there analysis of the trading itself and of the strategy, but also the emotions. And this is when you start to gather insights, patterns. You get to know yourself a little bit better, how you handle wins, how you handle losses. And then that has been the absolute game changer. I feel like that awareness, when I was working with Jade Cat, that was the difference that made the difference. Being aware of all your weaknesses, and then coming up with insights together, coming up with solutions and corrections, and then holding you accountable to it. So that is how we accepted your flaws and how we adapted. That's the game changer for me. That's the difference that makes the difference.
Wow, that's huge, Rod. That was very well said.
Yeah, I personally, I don't have too much to add on top of that, honestly. I think overthinking a lot of times comes from pondering the outcome of specific trades or specific decisions that you make in life. And really, I think, for me personally, the less I think about something, the more clear it becomes on what the right decision is. And that comes through failure, right? That comes through repetition of taking risks outside of your comfort zone and just being comfortable with uncertainty. I think too many people are putting so much focus on the past and the past and the future that they completely lose sight of where they are presently.
So well said. My goodness.
Also, I guess on that note, for me, I think if you find yourself spending too much time overthinking, right, you have to be self-aware that you're possibly not managing your time and your energy properly. Like periods of my life where, maybe I wanted to go for a promotion and I felt, I guess, angry that some people were, improving their careers and I really wasn't given a chance. I just kept thinking about what the outcome would be if I just stayed consistent to my values and my goals and, writing them down and being self-aware of where I am presently and what I need to do to get to that next level, right? So I think managing your time and energy is super important. So On that note, we are going to take a little intermission, and when we come back, we are going to discuss more on how to manage your time and reducing your stress and how to achieve your goals faster.
Out here on the street, I'm losing my way. You've gotten to me, and that's my mistake. Some might say I can't get too far without seeing your face. Oh, you gave me your heart and took it away. I'm going underground. Say your loving comes around, going underground, 'cause your love is not around anymore. Going underground, yeah, going underground.
We're back, everybody, and we're talking about a book today called Stop Overthinking by Nick Trenton. We're looking at techniques to relieve stress, to stop negative spiraling, things that might help you declutter your mind and to help focus on the present. We're talking about ways to create mental and emotional abundance. And we're going over things with Kyle, Jade Cap, and Rod, Trader Coach. So Kyle, we were discussing things to avoid, things to alter, things to accept, and things to adapt. And I wanted you to pick it up right there, if you don't mind, and let us know. Rod had talked about journaling and the importance of journaling, you know, recording and understanding your stress levels, you know, not becoming overwhelmed within our own thought patterns, writing things down systematically. But within that regard, Kyle, what's up next?
Yeah, so really what the focus is to be self-aware of your time, because time is extremely valuable, you know, especially as now entrepreneurs and people who have found success in the markets. I think poor time management can cause anxiety for a lot of people if they're not allocating all their time and energy towards the right activities, right? Like what are they focusing their time and energy on? Is it overthinking their previous trades? Maybe they made a poor financial decision. You know, maybe they're in a fight with their spouse, their friend, whatever the case is. How much of that, I guess, negative experience is eating away at your time? You know, people that hold grudges for long periods of time, you know, that builds up stress in a lot of people, you know, and it absolutely affects your mental health. So trying to find time to, you know, I guess relax a little bit and have fun and get outside and get some fresh air, right? It's not just about working hard. And I think as traders, it's so easy to burn out because you're overthinking all the results that you're getting. And, you know, maybe you're looking on Twitter and seeing all these other traders have success that you currently cannot manifest for yourself, right? How much time are you thinking about somebody else's situation, right? Instead of focusing on your own situation, right? So structuring and managing your life, to me, is really what matters the most. You know, set some time aside to go out with your friends, to pick up a new hobby, right? For me personally, I used to love playing competitive paintball. That was kind of like my escape, really. Now I've gotten into golf, and I honestly did not see myself getting into golf, but
You're getting old, bro.
because it was the result of my job. Yeah, I'm getting old. Yeah.
Bro, you did paintball?
I did, yeah. I used to play competitive paintball. Not at like a super high division. We were just Division 3, but we did win a national championship in Tennessee, and like those were probably some of the best.
National championship
Yeah.
paintball player, bro. Back in the day when I was younger, like I mean, we're talking. A lot of y'all probably weren't even a sparkle or a twinkle in your mom's eye just yet. I'm talking
Right.
20 plus years ago. But I used to go into this field. Now, the way I played paintball was different than how I see the way it's being done more competitively, right? It was almost like the Revolutionary War, right?
Yeah,
like
right. Like
you
we're
weren't
just standing in a
spraying so
line.
much. You were in the woods. There was like this like tree house. If you got hit, you had to call hit.
Oh yeah, so
but you could only
know what that competitive paintball scene is like. It's more regulated. It's on a really short field. It's very much a competitive sport, right?
it's super it's
time.
awesome.
Oh yeah, I loved it. And
what made you get out of it, bro, after winning a national championship? Damn.
See, I guess managing your time and energy, right? And I guess finances.
Yeah.
So when you start climbing the ranks of competitive sport, right? And that was something that there's no money in it, right? They're not paying me for a sponsorship. It was just a hobby that we were doing. So it started to eat up a lot of our weekends. We would be there Saturday, Sunday. We'd be, buying, I think, at least 2 cases per day, which is, a case of paint is about $60, right? So it's 2,000 paintballs, and, in a competitive environment, you're shooting those 2,000.
You go through a lot of paintballs
in a
competitive environment.
You're shooting, 2,000 paintballs maybe in a couple different points. Right. So
see, that's the thing I was going to say. Like, when I played way back in the day, like, I mean, I think we had 178 feet per second kind of rule. If it was 180 feet per second, like, we would measure them out.
Yep.
But then we were only allowed to have one paintball in the air at a time.
Oh,
like,
wow.
that was the way we were playing. So you had to trigger. Yeah, no, it wasn't like it is now where it's ching 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 ching. Everything so semi-automatic, but it was like, I don't know. Like I said, I compare it to almost like Revolutionary kind of war. It was like that you could only have one ball, and I think people were with the idea was to conserve paint, right? Like, it's an expensive thing. So how do you do it and make the rules conducive to being on a budget, at least back then, right? Like I said, this was 20 plus years ago, but there's a dude, I used to do it in Santa Fe, New Mexico, living out there. But I had a buddy of mine that was super passionate about it, and his nickname was Turtle, but he was a sniper, bro. Just, he would like hide and find somebody, and it'd just be like, ting, ting.
Yeah, so he was biding his time,
you hear,
right?
Hit, and they got to put their hands up and walk out. I mean, paintball's the truth, bro. I had a lot of fun playing paintball, but I think it's become modern warfare with the semi-automatics. Yeah, you're going to go broke buying paint.
Oh yeah.
Because of how quickly
the way we played wasn't 100% semi-auto. It wasn't semi-automatic. It was like assisted automatic. So you had to shoot, like 3 or 4 shots semi, and then it would just ramp up to like 15, almost automatic, 15 balls per second. So yeah, it got crazy out there, man. Like, it was. But so yeah, like that was the thing is I was at the time I had kind of just started out in my career, and like I was making an okay salary. It wasn't anything life-changing, and I think I really just had to make a decision to manage my time more wisely. Not only that, like, I loved playing video games, right? So I think I caught myself and I was self-aware that, I was spending a lot of time on things that really weren't adding a whole lot of value to my life. Like, yeah, they're great hobbies, but you can't sink so much of your time into it if it's not going to, I guess, push you to the next level.
So you think it was good to add as a framework, but you noticed that you were spending too much time doing it and you wanted to spend more time doing constructive things in your life that were going to help whatever meet you and your goals, right?
Exactly. So like on topic, what we're talking about is managing your time and energy to reduce your stress, right? So that was kind of how I was reducing my stress. I was stressed out at work. I would go play paintball, right? If a lot of people are maybe stressed out at work, they're going to play golf. But if you spend too much of your time doing, I guess, leisure things, and I guess not enough time on pushing yourself out of a specific situation, it doesn't really matter how much you enjoy that hobby. It's not going to reduce the stress level long term, right? And that's kind of what we're trying to get at is, managing your time and I guess setting aside time, a reasonable amount of time towards things that will reduce your stress is important.
Yeah,
No
absolutely.
doubt.
Absolutely. These organization, like that was the biggest stress in my life. I used to be so disorganized with everything. And I literally had to get a book to learn how to be organized. The book that completely changed my life was Getting Things Done by David Allen. And the GTA system, Getting Things Done, GTD system, it really had a massive impact on my life. I realized that if I didn't do anything about organizing my time and being and having it structured, having a smart goal towards my organization and everything that I wanted to do, then nothing will get done. I mean, I'll try and get everything. I'm trying to get everything done in my trading, in my fitness, my health. And if I'm not punctual with my own routines, habits, then nothing's gonna get done. So it's so important to be super organized and punctual to the actual routines and habits that you set yourself.
Yeah, I think
You
just
got to turn up.
being organized with your time, right, to complete those tasks is so important. You can say I'm going to journal every day, but if you're not managing your time properly and saying this is the time of the day that I can block off and spend that time to actually get this done, right? Maybe it's going to get put off to another time.
A really good point. So, talking about putting things off, procrastination, talking about managing time and energy, how to reduce stress to meet your goals. Like, what would you say are, I mean, we're talking about like time management is pretty kind of super extra important. What are some things that you guys do within your own kind of time management? And I'll start, and then I want to ask the question yourself. Like for me, I try and begin with the end in mind, and I try and think of what I want to get done, and then I try and work towards what I want to get done. So that works really well for me. Sometimes things get spontaneous, but if I know I've got a list of this is what I really want to achieve today, and I make it, something, maybe it has to do with being physical. I mean, I always break things down personally when I talk about goals. I mean, obviously you want SMART goals, but I break things down into physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual kind of levels within myself. So I try and look at, am I going to do 150 push-ups today? Am I going to do 100? Am I going to how many pull-ups do I want to get done today? Right? What am I going to eat today? How am I going to make it a point to eat well today? Right? Am I going to eat some steak and salad? Is it going to be more, water, coffee, juice? Am I making it a point? Do I give myself a reward and say, yeah, I'm going to have a beer tonight on a Friday night? I don't overdrink. I just have one. I mean, literally, 1 or 2 beers. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, like what you're saying is just me. For me, I got to just say no. Like, Maybe it's
Yeah,
not.
no, I
Maybe it's
get
not
that.
saying no to somebody else, right? I just have to say no to myself. Like I could easily pick up a controller and just play video games for the next 10 hours today, right? But if it's not essential to what I'm trying to do, and if it's not aligning with my goals, then maybe I'm spending too much time doing that, right? Like if I have things to get done, maybe I time block, an hour for video games and kind of stay disciplined to managing my time like that. Because
Are video games a thing that you really enjoy doing, bro?
I do. Lately, I
What's your
haven't been as
game? I'm just
much.
curious. I know it's. I used to. I mean, I have a daughter,
Hmm.
so I would play video games with her because she enjoyed playing video games. But as an older adult, I find them as a nice stress reliever, but a frivolous time. Like it's just a pursuit of time that just kind of drains me, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just my 2 cents. Being older, but I would play to play with my daughter, and at sometimes we would play for a whole weekend because that's what she wanted to do.
Oh,
But
I think I talked with this with Rodrigo. I used to be huge into Call of Duty, and like a lot of my friends played Call of Duty. So at times we were up until the sun came up. And that was kind of like right around the time I was like a freshman in college. I had just lost my mother, so that was kind of like my escape. So
yeah, dude, no.
nowadays I really just I have a specific day where I play games with my brother, and if I have some free time, I'll play some games. But I guess being aware and feeling the disappointment in yourself when you're just in front of the screen all day long, because I've had those days where I just binge and play video games all day long, and at the end of the day, you're just like, wow, I really didn't get anything done.
So you kind of feel guilty, you mean?
Yeah,
Like,
you feel guilty, and then that builds up, mental stress. It does, and then you start overthinking things, and it's it's all full circle, really. Like if you're, if you feel guilty of how you spend your time, maybe try and approach it in a different manner.
Yeah, for me, the best technique to get shit done and to stay organized is accountability. So for me, having people around me to go to the gym with, that's going to keep me accountable. That's going to help me turn up, be there on time, and get the job done. There are some days when I don't want to go, and I'm like, guys, I don't know if I can make it. And they'll message back saying, don't be a pussy, get yourself in the gym right now. I'm like, okay. And, I might be 30 minutes late. It doesn't matter. It's the act of going, even when I don't want to do it. Again, the same thing with
oh,
trading. When I've been part of a trading unit, a hive, we turn up, we look and analyzing the charts, calling price, and reminding ourselves of what we need to do.
dude, that's so well said.
Accountability, guys. Accountability is so underused by traders.
I will say at Trader Roundup, the one thing that we are really going to focus on within communication, within understanding the importance of a mastermind, of a hive, of being on a small team. And a small team is just that. It's a small group of folks that come together and do exactly what Rodrigo's talking about, and that's hold each other accountable. You got to be willing to show your executions. You got to be talking about, is it going to be, if it's paintball, are you going on a sniper day? You're only going to show 2 executions on your lab report. Are you in complete and utter practice mode and you're working on your model and your framework and you're going to be spraying everywhere in demo? Because you're allowed to have both, If you're still figuring things out, then you're allowed, and you need to give yourself permission to trade and to practice trading a certain way. If you're seeking more framework, if you're looking to add if-then statements to your model, within the context, within the time, within the price framework. I mean, guys, just look at fair value gaps. They're undefeated. Measure them. Measure them on a real high time frame and then dial into it. Do what ICT says, the micro fair value gap, that internal range liquidity. But you map it out from a really high time frame. Really high. I mean, for what it's worth, I like.
So like what I did, which, with all these concepts and with all this information on markets out there, all right, it's so easy to get overloaded with all this data and all this information. You could fall into a rabbit hole where you're studying fundamentals and then you're studying technicals and you're watching the news and you're doing all these things, right? But for me personally, I think focusing on the fair value gap or just something specific.
Yeah.
Just focus on it one at a time, because if you start bringing in too many things, now you're kind of setting yourself up to overthink.
Agreed. So well said. If ICT traders just focused on the fair value gap, it'd be a lot easier within their own creation of their model and within their framework. It's high time frame fair value gaps, guys. That's it.
So I know Rodrigo is really practiced with working with traders and doing specific exercises, etc., etc. So Rodrigo, do you have any practical exercises that you bring us through? Like I have on the next slide a couple of them. Maybe you're not familiar with the first one, right? But I know that with the last two, guided imagery and visualization, and the deja vu method, those are two things that you practice with me, right?
Yeah. So when it comes to autogenic training, as Nick Trenton mentions in the book, things like guided imagery, visualization, and what I refer to as the trader deja vu method. The purpose of these is really to focus your attention, because when we are overthinking, think of your attention as this sort of a bouncy ball, right? A little ball, and it's bouncing from different things around you in the room. You're looking at, or different things on your computer screen, right? You got all these different tabs. You got social media, you got Trading View, you got MetaTrader, you got YouTube, you got WhatsApp, you got your email, you might be working, right? You've got all of these distractions. Your attention is just all over the place. And so when it comes to the purpose of these exercises of visualization, the purpose is just to focus on one thing at a time. And so that bouncy ball that's just bouncing everywhere in your head, right? It's just bouncing off all corners, different thoughts. It then gets focused on one thing at a time. So the trader deja vu method, which that we did, Kyle, and this is something that I do with traders, is the purpose of it is to create a scenario in the future, step into that scenario and live it as if it's happening right now. And what that does, it mentally and emotionally prepares you for the outcome. And I'll talk you through the specific method, specifically the deja vu method. Now, I'll talk you through of how I do it. And I do this pretty much 5-6 days a week. And my morning routine is I'm in the gym at 6 Monday to Friday, and if it's on the weekend, I'm in the gym at 7. That's the time my gym opens, and that's the time my boys are there, my accountability partners, and we smash it out for 45 to 60 minutes, weight training, mostly, And then we head to the sauna, and in that sauna, we relax. And I'm in there for 20 minutes. 10 of those minutes, the first 10 minutes, I'm practicing the trader deja vu method. And it begins with some deep breathing. It begins with drawing my attention to different body parts, different sounds, different smells, the sensation of the heat. I'm in the sauna, guys, by the way, right? You know, it's I can I can feel the changes that's happening. I can feel every single sweat that's trickling down, and then being aware. And sometimes the sweat gets a little bit itchy, right? And I resist the urge to itch myself because I'm in this meditation practice. I'm visualizing, and so I'm even that detail of being aware of that droplet of sweat and that itch that it causes. I become aware of it. I give it attention, but I don't succumb to it. And then I begin with once I'm in that present moment, it's a very powerful place to be in, because I'm no longer thinking about the past. I'm no longer thinking about the future. I'm in that present moment. And in that present moment, there is no fear. There is no greed. And at that moment, I begin to think about the 3 things I'm most grateful for. And that practice of gratitude, or going back to a memory, that gives you this sense of happiness, fulfillment. This memory itself, you begin to visualize it as if you are reliving it. And for me, it's the day that I first held my daughter, and I remember it so clearly, so vividly, that every single time I step into that memory, I get tears. I'm so grateful for that moment. And I remember the words that I said to her and the promise that I made to her. I remember the smell. I remember everything. It was beautiful. And so it brings a smile to my face when I'm sitting there in the heat. And so when I'm in that zone of gratitude, I've got serotonin, endorphins, dopamine running through my body. I begin to visualize my day. So I spend maybe 3 to 5 minutes visualizing my day, from leaving that sauna, getting ready, doing the school run with my daughter, going back to the office, at home, and then I picture the entire New York session. I picture myself visualizing my entire trading plan. I visualize what I'm seeing on the screen. I'm visualizing the price action, the exact time I'm waiting for my setup. And I either visualize a loss or I visualize a win. In both cases, I have a process. And so I visualize the entire process of me doing it. And so by the time this practice is over, and by the time I get ready and I do the school run and I'm on the charts and I'm implementing it all, I've already been there. I've already visualized it. It's deja vu. So there is no fear. There's no attachment. There is no greed. There is no ego. When I experience and I live that moment, when the outcome becomes reality, whether it's a win or a loss, I already know what to do, and then I implement exactly what I visualized. So that is the trader deja vu method, and it's so powerful. I really, really encourage all of you to practice this.
Yeah, I think what you said is so powerful, and I take a lot of inspiration from, I guess really legendary athletes: Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, right? And a lot of them visualize the shots that they're taking. So when it comes time to actually execute, it becomes second nature, right? So I think visualizing and then executing can be a practice in itself and an exercise in itself. Visualize yourself winning a trade. Visualize yourself taking your wife out to dinner, or your spouse, or helping somebody in need. Visualizing, maybe you get a promotion at work, or visualize buying your dream car, buying that home you want, or even getting yourself out of debt. Things like that to kind of guide you, so when the time comes around, you've already been there. So I guess transitioning into the next segment, we asked that you guys, what do you visualize? Like, what are your goals? What are you doing to practice them? So on that note, we will take another short intermission. When we come back, we will talk about how persistently engaging in negative thinking can be detrimental to your health.
Welcome back, everyone. And, well, okay. Are we back in, guys?
Yes, we're back.
We're back, everybody. It's Trader Roundup. We're talking practical exercises. We're looking at the next slide here. We're going over things like guided imagery and visualization, the Trader Deja Vu method. We just went over a real powerful routine. When you combine physical exercise with mental training, it's uber important for you guys to combine both of these. Oh, we got a nice question here. But real quickly, guys, visualization, it's so huge and important. You need to close your eyes. You need to visualize. You need to see yourself in your mind's eye in the future. And you want to take now who you are, and you want to see and project who you are. And you need to spend a lot of time really thinking about that in intimate detail. All of the things that you really want to be, because you are the only ones that are going to put limit on yourself. If you think that you only deserve a certain amount of money from the market, that's all you're going to get. So you want to be able to visualize and create a trajectory for where you are going, both in life and where you're going as a trader. So, super important. Yes, man, Josh Hash agrees and says it's super important. Yeah. But anyway, guys, that needs to be a priority. And with that said, I want to get back and hand the slide in the conversation over to Jade.
I'll be covering this one.
Oh yeah, okay, or Kyle, my bad, or Rodrigo. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, in regards to negative thinking, especially when it's persistent, the reason why it's persistent is because it's habitual. Okay, whenever you find yourself in negative thought and it keeps repeating itself, it's just a pattern that you need to firstly recognize and then you need to implement tactics in order to replace that behavior, right? But the first thing is being aware of it, okay? And accepting it. And what I like about what the author Nick Trenton done is, he uses CBTs, or cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, in order to help recognize these negative thought patterns and then develop positive attitudes towards your well-being, because your well-being as a trader is so important. Because if you're not in a good state, if your thoughts are too negative, then that's going to have a negative impact on your trading, hands down, right? And so it's so difficult, right? It's so difficult to get out of this cycle of negative thoughts. So that's why when I work with traders, I want to identify what these are, right? My first session with a trader is we go straight into the darkness, right? We go in there and we're searching. We got the flashlights on, but we're going in, right? And it's uncomfortable. It's raw. There are tears. But you know what? It's so important to be able to identify what these patterns are, put them down onto a database, and figure out together what the solution is. And so once you figured out that solution, that replacement, it's about implementing that into a process. Now, when you've implemented the process and you've got it written down black and white, then for me, I hold you accountable to that. That's the key, right? Accountability. Because once you have that process, you're still going to have those negative thoughts. You're still going to be anxious. It doesn't go away straight away. And so then you have to implement it on a consistent basis. And if another book that I recommend, highly recommend, as someone mentioned it earlier in the chat, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. There is a system in there which will help you build the right kind of habits so that they can compound, and then these negative thought patterns are broken and new thought patterns are replaced. And so and the reason why this is important is because there are certain cognitive biases and heuristics that we all default to, and having the right habits, stacking the right habits, compounding the right habits, that is what's going to help you as a trader overcome these persistent and engaging negative thinking, because that is what's holding you back, guys. And so you got to be the trader. Not only do you need to be the analyst, the scientist, the engineer, the risk manager, you also got to be the psychologist. And that is why at Trader Roundup, that's why we decided to do this podcast. That's why we decided to put this out for you guys, because we want to help you guys break those negative thought patterns. We want to give you guys the opportunity to be accountable, because together we are stronger. And what I want to do now is I want to hear from you guys. Okay? A lot of you guys have attended and have supported us and are truly listening. I want to hear from you guys now. So what questions do you have for the three of us?
I've got some questions here from the live chat.
Go ahead.
I've got a couple questions here from the live chat for you guys. One of them was, how do you guys manage overreacting when you lose or gain big amount of money? That's coming from Javza B from the live chat.
Sorry, repeat that again, Kit.
How do you guys manage overreacting when you lose or gain big amounts of money?
So for me, personal experience, right? The other week, I I lost a good amount of money, not in terms of drawdown as a monetary loss, but I was up a huge amount of money, and I gave back. Well, I didn't give it back, right? It was unrealized. If I held on to the trade for a little bit longer, it would have been a huge win, but I gave it back just by closing it out an hour too early. So my biggest thing is, in the past, I would, want to revenge trade and make it back because I missed out on the move. So what I do as an exercise is I just get up from my computer desk and walk away. Rodrigo always brings this up to me, right? And I believe it's his tagline, is reset, review, and recalibrate. If you're not giving yourself enough time to analyze how you feel after taking a large loss or getting a big win, right? You're either going to be operating on fear or greed. So you need to take some time away from your thoughts and from the markets to reset yourself and rebalance yourself. That way you can come back to the markets as a killer. I'll always relate to professional sports because, professional athletes are not playing game time playoff games every single day of the week. And as traders, it's so easy to fall into that idea of trading every single day. You don't have to trade every single day. Save your best performance for the playoffs. Like, you want to peak at the right time. And for me, I can only peak a couple times a week. So if I know I'm not going to be at my best, what I do is I just walk away. That was probably a little bit long-winded, and I know Rod probably has...
That's a great answer. I love that analogy. I mean, you comparing it to sports, you comparing it to playoffs. I think ICT said something similar in a tweet. I couldn't agree more. This idea of practicing, if you want to be really good, you have to practice and you have to really hone in your skill. You have to be able to read price. You have to be able to analyze price, both as it's printing real time as well as in hindsight. I think those are two massively underrated skills that more traders need to just focus on. And I think you're right. And if you can be willing to disengage from the market completely at some point in stage within the day or the week, if you can focus on really trading in demo and kind of practicing seeing where price is going to go within the framework of your models, then when you really have that high probability setup coming from your high time frame analysis, then that's when you're looking for go time, right? And you don't really need too many of those when you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you want to take the sniper approach, not the shotgun approach. All right, shotgun approach is accuracy by volume, whereas sniper approach is precision.
That's so well said, bro. And that's coming from one of the most successful funded traders on Twitter right now, guys. So you might want to pay a little bit of attention to what he's saying. Less is more, and sniper entries versus spray and pray.
Yeah. Got a question here from Kurt for Kyle. You've had an amazing week. How do you know when enough is enough? How do you know when to step away, pat yourself on the back, so to speak, and reward yourself?
That's a hard question because it comes down to you being content with it. And honestly, I guess being around people that had a lot of wealth, right? They we're top 1%ers, you can definitely fall into that trap of not being content with what you have. So a lot of times, if that move that you were hoping to catch, and you got out early and it continues to run, or maybe you got out based on your system and it continues to run, are you still content with what you made? ICT mentions it all the time. Just be content with what you made. And that's something that I guess you have to find within yourself. What are you content with in life right now? I think most people are content with the lives that they're living, right? They get comfortable. And maybe they're not even thinking a whole lot, right? I think there's a fine balance between not thinking enough and overthinking. And I think, this book that we've been talking about, this whole podcast, brings up some really strong points, right? Maybe, I think a lot of times people are overthinking. But again, on the other side of the coin, and I'll, I guess be the, I'll question the author is, what if I'm not thinking enough? What if I'm underthinking and not applying myself properly?
Got a something for Kit. Kit, your idea of demo trading to curb some tendencies has been a game changer for me. As an overtrader, demo trading has allowed me to satisfy urges without losing money. From Kurt. So,
well, no, Kurt, I love hearing that. I think honestly, the more you become a professional within the markets, the more you recognize and understand what ICT teaches and advocates to its students. I mean, I believe very strongly in the market is a laboratory, and we're practicing a technical science, and there's a lot of analysis that has to go into that science. Being able to do that real time and in an environment that isn't gonna damage you, I believe helps sharpen your edge. Quite frankly, I think you are more attuned and refined within your own logic and within your own framework and within your own models when you can identify, the environment. Are you expanding or are you consolidating, right? For one, what's the trade idea? I mean, where are you going? And then in demo or funded or live accounts, you can choose one side of the market and you can be content with that side of the market because you're going to get more than enough handles on both sides. It's realistically going to depend, though, obviously, on the type of day that it is. Are you in an expansion? Are you in a consolidation? Are you trending? Are you in a reversal? Right? So for me, I think that's a really good point. Thanks for bringing that up, Kurt. And that's one thing we here at Trader Roundup want to continue to do, and that's really preach and advocate what ICT teaches throughout his mentorship, throughout the coursework, and with his private students. And that is the importance of demo.
So Deke had a really good question that I think really relates to the book that we're covering. He says, thanks for the podcast, guys. My question for now is, during your guys' development, how do you handle the possibility that you might not figure this out?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that comes from within, personally. I think that comes from within. Is this something for you? Are you meant to be a trader? Are you willing to put in the time? Do you have the drive? It goes back to your why. I mean, whether you can do it or not is going to depend on your why. I know traders that, and I mean, I am Boss Lady. I'd like to regurgitate something she has said on Trader Roundup as well as in a tweet. And that's she's trading because she wants to see her dad retire. Her why is not going to let her give up. She's trying to really help someone else, and she's trying to help someone for a reason. That reason means that she can't and won't give up on this path and this pathway moving forward. So she's exhaustively continuing on that path, pushing and finding ways to become successful in trading. And I think your why defines that, mate, quite honestly.
Yeah, I
So
think if you have the right why, you're really not going to overthink too much. Like, you need to execute because people depend on you.
Yeah, 100%. Having a vision, having a clear vision, and setting and starting with the end in mind. In not just in trading, in everything, and making your purpose, your mission bigger than just you. It's got to be national. It's got to be global. So when you put that kind of responsibility, it pushes you through. So your vision is your roadmap. It's your purpose lived on purpose. And having that vision and living it with your values, with your goals, this is the way. And
This is the way.
This is the way. And there's no shutting off from it. You have a duty now to that vision. You have a duty to those of you, those people around you, your loved ones, and even those strangers that need that help. This world, the system is broken, guys. And it's traders like us who can make a difference. So if you're not putting in the work, if you're not there's so many gems that we've dropped today. You gotta go back to this episode. You gotta take notes. You gotta engage with us, because you gotta really, really do this. There's and you gotta really commit to it. You gotta surround yourself, because we rise by lifting others. And so I encourage each of you as well to go to the traderroundup.com website and join the movement, because what we're planning on doing is to be able to continue to give you guys the knowledge, the guidance, the roadmap. So I encourage you guys to go to www.traderroundup.com and join the movement. And
that's a fancy looking website we got there.
Yeah,
I like that. That looks nice.
We're just collecting just names and emails so far, and we're asking you guys some questions. Do you want to?
Yeah, just like how we have some questions from the audience. Right, so
because that's going to help us for future podcast episodes. That's going to help us.
Yeah, we want to know what you guys are overthinking. Yeah. What are you struggling with? Are you thinking about this too much? Are you not spending enough time and energy on the right things? Are you practicing these exercises that Rodrigo's talking about? Right? Are you managing your time and going back to the 4 A's of stress management? Right? Are you avoiding negative things that you can't control? Are you trying to alter your environment, or are you accepting of your environment? And if you can't change those 3, well, you need to adapt. All right, so I think Ito's got a really good question. At what point do you suggest a more intimate mentoring for both execution and psychology? I feel I have reached a point where I need to ask more direct questions during the trading day. Oh, maybe that wasn't the question I was looking at. But it is still a good question. Because I had those same questions. When I first started studying ICT, I didn't reach out to anybody. I was studying on my own. And when you're isolated from everybody, right, now you're just in your own thoughts. So, again, being in your own thoughts can be positive at times, but if you don't have the right guidance, right, with something as stressful as trading is, you're going to tend to overthink because you don't know what it takes to become a successful trader. So until I started reaching out to other successful traders, I was kind of just in my own thoughts. And that was, a detriment to me because I had so many questions and I was overthinking so much. But yeah, I think reaching out to people is so important, and it's kind of the goal of, Kit running Twitter Spaces and us trying to do this podcast is just provide a platform for people to reach out to us and where we can provide value to you guys. C Rosecap asked, do you have any regrets from things that you had to sacrifice, or what would you have done differently to get where you are now?
Good question.
Ooh, that's a big one. The word regret. I'll jump in. I know the questions towards you. We'll just go in the circle, right? Go through the round table. But regrets from things you had to sacrifice or would you have done differently to get where you are now? Wow. I'll just say I had to sacrifice two lives, which I think really equate to two wives. Or vice versa. But I don't know if I regret. No, I mean, I can't say that. There definitely are regrets. But on the journey as a trader, I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at if life hadn't played its hand out the way that it did. So that idea of maktub, of it is written from The Alchemist, I think in order for us to fulfill our destiny, there are times in which we have to go through drawdown. And I think that drawdown, and when you're in that manipulation phase of AMD, can feel a lot of times like regret before you really hit your distribution. And for me, personally, yeah, I got regrets. But I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't. How about you, Kyle?
I always thought about the regret of not seeing something through all the way. So for me, I always knew, or I had an inkling, that I could become a profitable trader. And if I didn't continue to try and become a profitable trader, that regret would outweigh any of the decisions that I would make, because that's something that you're going to carry for the rest of your life if you really think this is something that you can do, and I guess create generational wealth, free up your time ultimately, and not so much the monetary reward, but being able to spend more time with your family members and your friends is priceless. You can't put a price tag on that. So for me, I don't have any regrets. I think if I didn't pursue this with as much energy as I have, even the last 2 days, I think I've gotten 4 hours of sleep trying to put the production of this podcast on YouTube together. Right? This is the format of what we're doing right now is so much like Twitter Spaces, but I didn't want to leave anything on the table. I didn't want to have to, I guess, co-host this podcast with you and be regretful that I didn't put in enough work, because I think, when it comes to visualization, right, this is what I visualize the podcast to be, and I kind of just work diligently towar's that.
Dude, and I just want to say kudos to you because you're taking this and you're bringing it to a whole other level, right? Like this is tech. This is us kind of in a new version of ourselves, right? And in that goal of trying to get 1% better every day, you've really set the bar high in the amount of work that you've done to get us to this point. So I want to say thank you and also kudos, brother. I mean, you've done a great job. We got to figure some things out on Twitter, where and how that'll work out. But I mean, the way it's coming across on YouTube right now is beautiful, and then it'll be recorded and it'll be easy to share for people to go back and watch. So the really nice thing that you put together here, Kyle, is I think you really have leveled up the game. So kudos to you. All your work is respectfully acknowledged, and I think it's going to bring us, as our own mastermind, our own team, going to bring us to a whole other level. So again, thank you for all the hard work you've done. The hardest ones are the first. So again, kudos.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. I really can't wait to see where where Trader Roundup goes. I think you've already started something, a movement behind profitable traders reaching out to each other and supporting each other and providing a platform that is, I guess, our trader version of AA.
Yeah.
That's a way of looking at it.
So like we can't wait to share some of the things we have planned with you guys. Hopefully some in-person events, maybe a long bike ride through the Northeast or Ohio would be one of them. A trader retreat where, we're pushing you guys to the physical and mental limits, and you're rewarded at the end of it. You're rewarded with a sharper mindset, a group of friends, right? A network of traders, because we rise by lifting others.
And that is a way of life. That is a way of life. It is.
This is the way.
This is the way. I hope this goes on every week or so. We're going to have multiple of these, and I think we're going to live a lot on YouTube, guys. I mean, you'll hear about it, and we'll end up retweeting it onto Twitter when after we've done it. But you should be putting the notifications on. You should be, following these pages, and you should be dialing in because we're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And we are here for you guys, and it's very important that we know who you are so we can hear you. We want you to have a voice. We want to hear your struggles, and we want to figure out a solution for you. So make sure you head over to the Trader Roundup website, www.traderroundup.com. There'll be links around this video. We'll be posting them out. Complete the questionnaire so that we can really know who you are and what your struggles are. And we will continue to push out the content, the solutions for you guys because look, the markets will provide, and we do rise by lifting others. And I want to finish off this episode, our first episode of Trader Roundup, and I want to pose the following question to you guys, the traders. What strategies or techniques have you personally found most effective in combating negative thinking and anxiety in your own life? And write those down on a tweet. Write it down in the comment section and share that experience with us, because we are stronger together, and your experience, your insight can be the difference to another trader. So let's learn from each other's journeys towards a more positive mindset. This is going to encourage engagement and create opportunity for all of us as traders to contribute our personal stories, because we are here to foster a sense of community and mutual support. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Kyle, for this amazing and most epic podcast. I'm so honored, so grateful. I'm very, very, very honored. Thank you.
Yeah, Kyle. I mean, you crushed it putting this together. Unreal.
Oh, thank you guys. This was my first passion, so to me, it's I love doing this stuff, and I'm dumb doing it. Nobody's paying me to do this. I just love doing it, and trying to provide value to you guys and trying to do something a little different, right? So I guess on that note, we're going to take a little short break, and when we come back, we'll provide some closing thoughts. Stick with us.
So, guys, we are back. It is Trader Roundup. We're wrapping up our inaugural episode here on YouTube. And, of course, we're on Twitter and a few other places. But I think you'll find us primarily here. And want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. If you want to know more about us, if you want to stay up to date with who and what we are, what we're doing. I mean, we'll have a lot of different things available. We got a lot of research and development in the way of stuff happening at Trader Roundup.
Yeah, eventually we're going to get you guys into, we're going to open up a free Discord so we can have some guest speakers come up too, but that's a whole nother technical thing that we're going to add. We just couldn't get it out today, so.
Yeah, levels to the game. We're getting there. So, yeah, thank you guys, everybody, for joining us. And those are my final words. Over to you, Kyle and Rod.
Yeah, so really in conclusion, when we're talking about this book, right, we are trying to provide advice to stop overthinking. And it really involves a couple of key strategies, including becoming more self-aware of your thoughts, challenging negative thinking patterns, and practicing mindfulness. So by adopting these techniques, you can learn to manage your thoughts more effectively and reduce feelings of anxiety and stress, which I know we all feel at times. We're not robots. We're not, don't put us on a pedestal. We're just human, just like you guys. So it's important to remember that overthinking is a common experience. We all go through it. But it doesn't have to control your life. With patience, persistence, and a willingness to change, you can break free from the cycle of overthinking and live a more fulfilling life. So on that note, I'm signing off. Kit, Rod, if you guys got anything else to say, appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody that attended, and hopefully we'll see you either tomorrow or Monday.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Kit. Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, everybody. Talk to you soon. See us on Monday. Monday Fun Day for Monday Mindset with Rod. Dial in with the notifications. And, yeah, this is the first of many, guys. Welcome to the new Trader Roundup.